Greetings and salutations to all you folks out there. We're going to be looking at a very different map today. This one is Mark's Abyss, and it is basically a cut down Roanoke Abyss played 4 versus 4. Very interesting concept. Pretty much the only reason I'm casting this is because it's a 100% naval map, and I love Navy. So we're just going to see how this one turns out. Let me introduce the teams, and then we will dive directly into the game. On the north side, we have Achieved Jaguar, a familiar face, taking Cybern, another Cybern for Vendetta. Then we've got UEF for Mistake Not, and that is Creature, taking Seraphim. On the south side, we have Lords. He is going Aeon, followed by Dagger as Cybern, then a UEF for Nirvana Nonstop. That's a great name right there. And Typo, last but certainly not least, picking up the Aeon flag. So it looks like we've got all 4 factions represent... Nope, no Seraphim. Sorry. No Seraphim on the south side, double Aeon. And we have no Seraphim on the north either. So this is a... I am bungling it all up right from the beginning. There's Creature with Seraphim. Let me stop giving you false information and dissect a couple of these build orders. I will have to apologize to you guys in advance. I am running on fumes at the moment. My work week has been brutal, and I am kind of mentally out of it, and for the New Year's, I swore off caffeine, so I'm trying to make my way without it. We'll see how well that works. Creatures got first land, second air, few P-gens down, T1 artillery moving across. That is actually a brilliant idea. It's going to camp out on that island using its excellent hover ability, and hopefully pick off an expansioneer or 3 that Lords might send that way. So we got first land, second air for Mistake Not as well. And then we've got Vendetta going first land, second air. Looks like we got a common theme going here. Pushing an engineer out to cap those mexes. And Achieved Jaguar doing much of the very same. Looks like there's not too terribly much reclaim here. There's 1 rock for 110 and a scattering of 5s and 10s around. Just enough reclaim to cap that first T2 mex that you've always dreamed about. And not much else more than that. Down here we've got land and then several naval factories, so you're definitely going to need some frigates on this map, at least from the front position. Anyway, we've got land and a T2 mass extractor for Nirvana Nonstop, land and air for Dagger, and he is not going for a T2 mex, kind of breaking the mold there. A little bit slower on his expansion than some of these other guys. And then we've got Lords going for 1 land factory and sending out the perfect counter to the artillery that is camping. That is an Aeon Aurora, easily able to take out that artillery. No sweat. And he'll be able to drop an engineer out there and cap that island. Got a few scouts coming around the bends, and a couple of engineers venturing out into the middle. There's only 1 mass extractor and only a handful of trees to reclaim, so not really a ton of strategic value to those little islands there. But hey, if you can get a T1 mass extractor down and hold it for a few seconds, 18 to be exact, that mass extractor will pay for itself, and from there on out, it is just gravy. T1 bomber out for Vendetta. That is probably going to head south and try to find an engineer. It looks like he is picking on the left side a little bit much. It's going to be a hard hit down here for this side, as there's another T1 bomber coming in from Creature. Looks like he is going to interceptor production to protect that air, and he has got a lot of power going down. Looks like he is also walking out to grab 2 naval factories, so a lot of building going on there. Here comes the hover bomb. 2 engineers on the first, trying to line up for a second, and he is gonna make it. There are another 2 engineers dead right there, so 4 kills on that bomber right off the bat. And this bomber for Vendetta is just kind of gonna take a little break, take a relaxing vacation on the seashore, looking out over this beautiful lagoon. My goodness, the water's clear here. It makes me want to go to the islands. I'm gonna have to do that at some point. T1 bomber still floating around down here, 4 kills on it. And that would have been a prime target right there. Those couple of engineers that are throwing down naval factories, trying to get some production up. I'm torn on the strategy for this map, because it's in the middle ground between small enough that you should rush, and big enough that you should tech. And so I guess it has to be a balance between the two. There's another bomber over here on this side. If you don't rush enough, if you don't have enough units online, obviously you are going to fold in the face of your opponent. And that is all going to die thanks to these handy dandy Auroras coming out on the early raid. But if you do not tech enough, these back slots are actually isolated to the point where they can probably, either one of them or both could get T3 air fairly easily, and that could spell bad things for a team that is not prepared. Combination of interceptor and ground-based anti-air fire going to drop that bomber pretty easily, but not before it takes out 4 P-gens. And this is actually prime placement for another bomb. I think one bomb placed well here would actually kill all 4 of those power generators. And there may be a contender coming in. Green is harassing down here as well. Did not get to see how many kills were on that bomber, but quite a few by the looks of all these little wrecks down here. Another T2 mech's going down for him. He is capping them all at once using the pause strategy. And Dagger is going to have 3 total once that comes up. So he's doing fairly well for himself on economy. We've got 4 mechs down for, that is Nirvana. Actually 5, and he's upgrading another right as we speak. It sounds like there's a little bit of an air battle going on down here, but it is just a T1 anti-air hammering away at a bomber that is struggling to cause a little bit of mischief. Isn't that what we all want in life? To cause some mischief in a video game? It is just the best. Simply the best. Maybe that's the mark of a troll. If it is, I fully embrace it. Here comes the bomber around for another pass. 3 kills on it so far. I would hope that it could land maybe a quadruple on this grouping over here, but it's just going to harmlessly pass over that clump of engineers and come back around for another swing at it. Good lord, there are so many T1 bombers out here. Lords has got to feel abandoned by his team. He's just over here taking a pounding from all of those bombers, some of them from people that are not even his direct opponent, and that is just ridiculous. Aurora is moving in on a Chief Jaguar space. That is a fantastic move. Those things have got the range to stand off from the shore and attack that mech, but unfortunately there is a frigate and a couple of bombers out. It's going to succeed in taking out one single solitary mass extractor, which is really nothing of too much consequence, and that is going to be that. Looks like we've got 3 naval factories finished with 3 more planned for a Chief Jaguar. We've got 6 finished for Typo, who is actually a 1600 rated player. He is doing fairly well on his mass income and shooting some frigates up that way. This is the bad thing about the Aeon frigates. They are weak as opposed to every single other faction's frigates. Technically, they have a little bit more range, but it is not actually enough range to succeed at swinging pretty much any battle in its favor, and it costs the most for the least amount of HP, which is kind of stupid. So these frigates will lose heavily mass for mass versus especially Cybern, which has the best frigate, and that is going to make this a little bit of a struggle, especially considering it is effectively 1 versus 2, at least at this moment. Maybe Orange is going to be the air player. I would definitely hope so, considering the fact that he has no naval factories, no extensive amount of land or air factories, so we can only hope that he is teching like a madman. And it looks like Dagger is definitely going for naval domination. He has got a T2 factory upgrade in the works. He's getting an upgrade on his commander. That would be T2. And he's got several mass extractors on the outlying islands at his disposal. Chief Jaguar has T2 on the comm, and he is moving towards Red's base. This is actually... He needs to get torpedo upgrade on that commander, because as things are sitting right now, if he got the torp comm, he could simply walk up into the base and decimate Typo's production. And what is this? What is this? This is a comm drop, folks. Creature has got a UEF ACU loaded up in a Starlifter, and that son of a gun is going to drop right in the middle of this island. There not enough anti-air to really affect anything. Maybe a quarter of the health is going to get knocked off that transport. Nothing too serious. That is a T2 gun upgraded commander. Definitely not anything that an unupgraded ACU can stand up against. That island is about to get completely wiped out. When you see this happening, basically your only suitable course of action is to bring online as many T1 artillery as you possibly can, as quickly as you can, because once this happens, you're in for a bad time. He's going to start getting those T2 point defense down, and once those are down, then you're not going to be able to approach with artillery. We do have a Jester, though. There was a Jester out and about for Dagger, and he is going to put that into play down here on the south side, try to do a little bit of damage down here. Probably needs to hit that T1 point defense first, since it is the most heavily damaged, and you could actually reduce the damage potential on that thing. But it's not going to happen, and with a T2 point defense coming up online, that is really going to reduce this situation to pretty well hopeless. Chief Jaguar did get the stealth upgrade. I'm telling you, though, that Torp upgrade would be brutal in this situation. It would definitely help him clinch this game right here. But this is going to be, I think, the biggest detriment to this team, because we're about to see the loss of pretty much an entire economy at 10 minutes into the game, and that is just not fun for anyone. We've got an engineer drop on the same transport. It's probably going to do a little bit of reclaiming, maybe a little bit of capturing, and all in all, go to help Creature pull even further ahead of his opponent. Looks like we've got 5 T2 mechs and no more upgrades planned, probably because he was intent on building a few point defense. And he's going to have a good source of reclaim if he can ever get a steady supply of engineers rolling out. Thankfully, Gray did have a destroyer come out before he lost his entire economy, so that is going to help him out quite a bit as far as hammering away at that ACU goes, since it's building T2 Seraphim shields, which are pretty dang tough. Taking a look over at this side, it looks like a Chief Jaguar has actually maintained his foothold in Navy, and that is largely due in part to the Green Intervention Vendetta coming to the aid of his teammate and helping push back the Red Tide. Hopefully they can get back in here and actually destroy some of the build power. It may not be likely, it may not even be wise, but when you have well over a dozen frigates and a handful of T1 subs, this is the only bad thing about it. We've got 3 torpedo defenses in with a bunch of meat shields, so it's kind of doubtful whether or not those would win with low enough casualties to make it worth it. But with all of the units flowing in from the back, I think that situation is looking better and better. On the south side, Creature has lost one of his shield generators, but he is building another. Hopefully it will not get killed off by a destroyer. And he is going to throw down some more T2 point defense. So Lords is actually in a halfway decent position here, at least with his ACU. But, yeah, he's still pretty much lost his entire economy. He's on 2 mass extractors at the moment. Count them, 4. That's right, Brink. Count them, 4. 2 T2 and 2 T1. Looks like Green is moving back out to the middle. Not entirely sure what Vendetta has planned there, but he could possibly take out this island. Not sure if the range on the frigates is quite long enough. And it looks like Dagger is moving up around to Creature's base. Would definitely help out if he was able to eliminate some of those mass extractors around the outside edge. Pretty much the only thing keeping that ACU alive is its ability to build more stuff. It looks like he is about to be power stalling as well, because he is taking the time to build a T2 power generator. He did lose his T2 transport to the frigates up here, so that is not good news at all. He will have to request another one in order to escape alive from this island. And, well, I don't know. He might be able to walk it, but nope, there's 2 destroyers online now. If both destroyers are up there, they put out enough DPS to kill that commander well before it can walk across the water to safety. A Chief Jaguar kind of standing off here for the moment. He is going to build a T2 torpedo defense. And that is going to be able to wipe out pretty much all of that stuff. Let's take a look at the range on it here. It's right there. First 4 factories are within reach. A few naval vessels, and definitely those torpedo defenses that did prevent him from going in initially. So that is going to be highly, highly useful. We now have a Salem moving in from Dagger. He's got T2 Navy online, and he is going to try to force Creature off that island. They definitely need to make it happen in order for these guys to regain this economy, and yes, even a little bit of reclaim. It looks like Creature is doing his fair share of reclaiming, denying those glorious treasures to the next person who dares to enter this base. But with the Salems killing off his shields, yay for high rate of fire, It does not look like he's going to be safe for very long. There is an air screen up here. If he's able to get a T2 transport, there is another one right there. He should be able to lift off the island without too much difficulty. I just hope that these guys don't run a bunch of interceptors after him in a futile effort to actually kill him. I'm assuming this game is no share. I am just going to assume that because it is not sentenced. Therefore, it should be no share. Nirvana Nonstop has a few T2 engineers on this island, and he's building T2 point defense for Typo. The space is so constricted in the back here that between those frigates and that shield, which keeps the smaller boats safe for a very long period of time, we got a T2 destroyer, we've got the T2 point defense, and all of the other things going on down here. A Chief Jaguar is going to be forced back once again, and I gotta say it once again, why does he not have the torpedo upgrade? He's got a stealth T2 Cybern ACU out on the front line, and he's not actually that terribly bad on mass stall. He could have adjusted his income earlier, gotten that torpedo upgrade online, and he would not be in this situation where he's getting pushed back. That thing does over 200 DPS on massive range. It does outrange destroyers, if I'm not totally mistaken. Highly useful tool. Lords is getting up everything that he possibly can. I think even though the temptation to build things that will get you mass is very, very strong, you definitely need to build a factory first in this kind of situation, because I think you need the engineers to reclaim more than you need that mass extractor online in a stall. But he is able to reclaim it, and that is going to give him a bit of an out. Reclaiming it, now he's going to get his factory online, then finish building. So kudos to him. He actually did it pretty well. I'm just rambling on. You know how this goes. Give my observations, even if sometimes they might not be accurate, and definitely at this point are feeling a little sleep deprived. Got 3 T2 point defense on this side with a shield going up. That's not going to be useful for very much longer. To be honest, I think I would reclaim it at this point because the initial push has been stopped, and these guys are rapidly going to be replaced by Salems. So once the Salems come online, they'll be able to easily outrange anything T2 that you can throw up, and then you're screwed because your point defenses are not going to do any good whatsoever versus an army of destroyers. Creature, you need to push soon. My side is about to be lost. Yeah, I don't actually agree with you, good sir. I don't know. Well, there's 3 destroyers, 4, 5, 6 destroyers, and just a couple of frigates versus 4 destroyers and quite a good number of frigates. I think these are pretty well matched, especially considering the fact that both of these guys are Cybern and therefore have destroyers that should outrange Orange. He should be able to stand back, deal damage from a distance, and control what is going on here, especially since Aeon destroyers are so bad at hitting anything. They could not hit the broadside of a barn if that barn was moving. I think the accuracy of that metaphor dropped somewhere in the middle there. First Neptune. Holy crap, we've got T3 UEF Navy rolling off the line at 18 minutes. That was a phenomenal push. By mistake not, racking up 137 mass per tick and dumping 100% of it into this UEF factory. That Neptune coming online is going to be huge. That is going to do amazing things for the battle on this side. Neptune able to mop the floor with frigates, along with some T1 and T2 floaty stuffs. The Neptune is pretty much the best thing ever to hit the water, except for the UEF T3 battleship in wide open spaces. Looks like red and orange are teaming up to move a little bit deeper into enemy territory, definitely tearing a new one in a Chief Jaguar's economy, losing 2 mechs that were capped, a 3rd one going down, possibly lose a 4th before this is forced into a situation where it can no longer focus fire. I think that situation is crawling up on its rear end. We've got 4 Salems and a handful of frigates moving in, but one of them is exceptionally low health. Need to focus fire that one and kill it dead, and then you will be able to reduce the damage output of the opposing force, which always, always, always works out in your favor. What did he say? Upgrading T-Tree. That's interesting. What is T-Tree? I'm not sure on this. Is it Mazer? It can't be Mazer. I guess it could be. Could be Mazer. Oh, T-Tree. Duh. Tech 3. My bad, people. You're probably wondering how long it's going to take Brink to catch up on that. Well, I got it. I got it very late, but I got it. Dagger shouting out. They've got T3 Navy, which, yes, is going to cause some serious, serious problems over here. But there are some destroyers, subs, and frigates moving in to attack that Neptune. Just need to chase it down for all you're worth. Do not focus fire it, chase after it, and hopefully knock it out before it can gain a veterancy or get back to any shielding. Because shielding plus Neptune equals a bunch of dead opposing units. On the north side, things are looking a little bit sketchy. Definitely not plowed under yet, but this ground that has been lost is going to be incredibly tough to regain because all of that economy has pretty much just disintegrated. Chief Jaguar is relying on his teammates for power as he basically has nil power income. He does have all the mass he could ever ask for in the shape of reclaim though, but it's on the south side currently being camped on by Navy, so place your bets on how that one's going to turn out. I don't think we can. I don't think we know who will come out on top of that one. Looks like we've got some Seraphim destroyers online. It's going to pair reasonably well versus Aeon because of the slow rate of fire and slow projectiles on those Aeon destroyers. Seraphim should be able to dodge super effectively and be able to keep most, if not all, of its damage on target, unlike some of the other boats which track way around where they're not supposed to be. Looks like Nirvana has helped his teammate Typo crack this production. The island is gone, the production is gone, pretty much a Chief Jaguar is gone. Not sure what he's going to do to come back out of that situation. That is incredibly frustrating to deal with. I can tell that from personal experience. On the south side, we do have some T3 air out. Did we have a strat bomber out yet? I think not. No, we have not. And then on this side, we've got quite a bit of economy, actually. Those are all but two are T3 mechs for Nirvana. So hopefully he can actually start dumping some mass into production instead of more mass like he has been for the last little bit. Looks like we've also got quite a few T3 mass extractors for Dagger. Hopefully you can make good use of those momentarily. While we've got just a little bit of a slightly slower portion, this has got so much action in it, I'm not sure where to stop and frame in the economic standpoint, but I guess we'll just pause there for a second. Vendetta has pulled in 2,000 mass, 2,800 for Mistake Not. Those guys are 180 and 194 income apiece. And then we've got 180 income on top of 6,000 reclaim. And I'm just going to read you the reclaim numbers here. We got 5. We've got 14. Holy crap. Typo running away with that one. 13 for Creature. And then we've got 12 for Lords and 9 for Chief Jaguar. For once, the guys with low reclaim numbers are on the top of the scoreboard. And I think that is in large part due... I'm going to pause that thought there. Here comes a Strat Bomber. Going to hit a T2 Mex. That is a mistake because a T3 Cybern Bomber cannot kill a T2 Mex in one pass. Leaves it alive with 250 health. That is a more proper target. Holy crap. That was a lot of NGs that just died. Holy smokes. 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe? By 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just say it was like 30 engineers. That was a huge hit to the build power there. If it would have made 2 passes like that instead of 1 on the mechs and 1 on the engineers, then he probably could have killed 90% of the build power on this factory. And that factory is the one that's causing them problems with all of the T3 units coming out from Mistake Not. Did have a couple of cruisers out, and there goes Lord's Strat Bomber combined with fire from Creature's Navy. KO'd that comm. That is it. Dagger hollering out. Repeat, they've got T3 Naval. They actually have T3 Naval on 2 sides. The battle cruisers withdrew from this side to go assist on the north right corner, the top right, or the northeast, not the north right corner. And that is going to also collapse this side, as long as those cruisers don't get in range of the Valiants. That was a mistake. Still going to take a lot of destroyers with them, but you definitely don't want to get that close to T2 Navy, because T2 Navy still deals far more damage than T3 per mass, especially when you're considering that it is a Valiant. One of the best health, highest DPS T2 units, takes out all the torpedo damage that the other destroyers have and applies it all to the surface cannons. They're going to do a tremendous amount of damage to those two battle cruisers, and then they are going to die. That ACU death was highly unfortunate, but I think Mistake Not is actually the one who swung this game. It was not so much through the death of this player. The Strat Bomber was a nice touch, and it definitely had that ACU go out with a little bit of flair, but the cruisers, I think, are what are going to end up changing this game far, far more. Those cruisers are now pushing up towards the production of typo. If these battleships continue to push up and hammer away at this position, they're pretty much on even terms as far as economy goes right now as teams, because even though a Chief Jaguar is not dead, he did lose his entire island, and then this is an empty island down here. But the T3 UEF Navy, I think, is going to be the clincher for this one. Let's see. We do have T3 Navy on the south side, though, so that's good. We've got battleships rolling out. As long as he keeps his distance, hammers with those things from far, far away as they're intended to be used, he might still be able to turn this around, especially considering the fact that Dagger is about to bite into a metric butt ton of reclaim, because I think a couple of those, they're all at least T2. I think there may have been one T3, some PGens, some naval wrecks, all kinds of things that need to be picked up. And pick up, I don't know, Subcom might as well be named Trash Pickup, because if you pick up all of the wrecks that the other team and yourselves have dropped, then you're pretty much guaranteed to win. That is an Omen class battleship, and I dearly love those. I know that they have the shortest range of any of the battleships, but you basically have to think of them like battle cruisers. They actually resemble battle cruisers more closely than the Summit or some of the other T3 battleships. They have the shorter range, they have the higher DPS, they do have a fair amount of health, they move faster than other factions' battleships, which helps them move to attack range much easier, but they're just such a brutal bludgeoning weapon that I just love to ram them directly up into an opponent's base and just watch the mayhem that ensues, because they do a lot of damage. Hammering away at that battlecruiser now, this is pretty much, like I said, it's a good counter to battlecruisers because of the super high DPS, especially if you get some mobile shields out there. Those will break up the beam weapons on the battlecruisers and should hand you the victory quite easily. Looks like Dagger is doing pretty well for himself. He does have enough units to stop the onslaught, at least temporarily, but there are some T3 UEF units moving down. He does have torpedo bombers at his beck and call. I'm not sure how well those are going to do. There is a nuke launcher. That could definitely turn things around. He does not have enough production, though, is one of the problems. He has far more mass than he's using. If I were him, I would be dropping a megalith in a huge hurry, because he has the mass to back up that kind of endeavor. So we got more naval factories going down in order to resupply that navy with frigates, and pretty much typical things happening in the base. As long as he keeps microwing, as long as he keeps moving that battleship and everything else is focus fired on that battleship, then he should be able to actually make some headway. About the best that you can ask for in this kind of situation. Here come the ASF colliding with daggers. Mistake Not is going to take heavy losses on that turn and then come back around for more. Cyber ASF carrying the match away, but unfortunately all of the torpedo bombers are already gone, and along with them any chance of stopping this navy moving down for Mistake Not. Battlecruiser is still there, battleship is still there, and we've got another cruiser moving up from the back. Looks like these guys are still holding out reasonably. Oh, there goes a drop. reasonably okay. But if this nuke goes down, I think we might be able to say that all hope is lost. I really sincerely hope that that nuke comes on okay. Looks like Nirvana Nonstop has dropped in the water up on the north side. What does he have on his ACU that he thinks might be helpful? Does he have a Billy? He has a TAC launcher at least. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Nirvana. Yep, just a TAC launcher. That's not going to work real well for him, I don't think, because there is about to be a battleship right there, which does have a zapper on it. There's lots of shielding, and Dagger has been defeated by those destroyers. Those destroyers put out a lot of DPS. They popped out of the water right there and hammered down that ACU. Battleship in the back there trying to break up the shields a little bit, and I think, yep, everybody throwing out the GG. I think that is GG, because that nuke very well could have turned it around, but it just simply was not meant to be. Vendetta, 2v1 here. I need help. I don't see a 2v1. I saw Chief Jaguar lose most of his navy just a few minutes ago. It might be kind of sort of 2v1 now. Don't do this! No! Why are you bringing your summits up? Their only advantage is the range that they fire from. The summits need to be back here, and the Aeon Navy needs to be up in the front. Don't do that. Don't do that. It hurts me. But I suppose they have already accepted their inevitable demise, and they're just going to roll with it. This was way too well protected for this ACU to really have any chance of doing anything good. The Navy is moving in on Nirvana's production. Not going to be putting out Navy very long at this rate. And that ACU is probably going to be doomed. His transport is gone. He is walking forward into the base. I think he's about to accept his own fate. There is one anti-nuke in there that was probably loaded already when that was firing, or when that was going to fire, rather. I don't see nuke defense over here. I also don't see nuke defense over here. So the nuke actually would have done really well. Could have nuked either one of two people, or nuked some naval production, or whatever else you felt like. So that nuke definitely could have changed how this game was going to turn out. I feel really bad for Dagger now. All the trouble to build that thing, all the trouble of compensating for your teammate that was lost, and all for naught. These navies are going to finish colliding here, and I would not be surprised if we see a Control K in just a minute, because typically Navy battles tend to take quite a while to wind down. ACU making landfall on this side. He is already super low on health, and there he goes. Direct hit to the face from a battleship, and then Typo is going to cut out. Well, I tried. Yeah, that's all we can expect from you. Alrighty, folks. That is a naval game on Mark's Abyss. I actually might have to play this one, because that's one of my biggest complaints with Roanoke Abyss, is it's just too spread out, too few mechs, too little reclaim. It's hard to get scaled up to where the game is any fun. But with it shrunk down a little bit like this and playing it with a lot of players, then yeah, it actually looks like a pretty dang good experience. Alrighty, folks, I'm going to wrap it up there. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.